Captain Frank Warren stood motionless on the bridge of the EDF Defiant, staring at the message displayed on the main screen. His hands gripped the railing until his knuckles turned white. The ultimatum from the Galactic Council was clear and left no room for negotiation. "They want our water," he said quietly to his second-in-command, Olivia Reed. "They're demanding we surrender 70% of Earth's freshwater reserves within 30 days. Olivia's face paled. That would mean death for billions. Frank nodded grimly. The Defiant continued its patrol near Neptune, seemingly small and insignificant against the vast darkness of space. Earth had only joined the galactic community 15 years ago, and humans were still considered newcomers by the ancient species that formed the Council. "Send word to Earth Command immediately," Frank ordered. "They need to know what we're facing." The message traveled faster than light through quantum channels, reaching Earth in seconds. At Defense Headquarters in Geneva, Admiral Lisa Harper read the ultimatum with growing anger. She immediately called an emergency meeting of Earth's military leadership. "This is not a negotiation," she told the assembled officers, her voice steady despite her fury. "This is the first step toward invasion. The Council has done this before to younger species." Across the solar system, Earth's ambassador to the Council, Diane Miller, was already trying to reason with the 7 Council representatives on Proxima Station. The circular chamber felt cold as Diane stood in the center, surrounded by the towering alien forms of the Council members. "Earth is willing to establish fair trade agreements for water," Diane said, maintaining her diplomatic tone. "But what you're asking would devastate our planet." The Xilarian counselor, a 12-foot-tall being with iridescent scales, leaned forward. "Your species has been given the honor of joining galactic society. Payment is expected." "We cannot and will not comply with these demands," Diane replied firmly. The chamber erupted with sounds as the Council members communicated among themselves in their native languages. The universal translators struggled to keep up with their rapid exchanges. The Moldavi representative, a gelatinous creature floating in a containment field, pulsed with bright colors. "Then Earth will be isolated. No trade, no communication, no protection from those who would take what they want by force." Diane stood her ground. "Is that a threat, Counselor?" "It is reality," replied the Xilarian. "You have 30 Earth days to begin water shipments. The Council has spoken." Back on Earth, President Nicole Foster addressed an emergency session of the United Nations. Her normally composed face showed signs of strain as she explained the situation. "We will not surrender our resources," she declared to thunderous applause. Humanity did not come this far to bow to extortion, no matter how advanced the threat. In the secure underground facility beneath the presidential complex, Admiral Harper met with her top strategists. The room was silent except for the soft hum of air circulators. "They don't know about Project Aegis," said General Alan Cooper, studying the holographic display of Earth's defenses. "No," Harper confirmed, "and that may be our only advantage." The Europa Research Station reports they're close to a breakthrough. On Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon, scientist Kevin Phillips worked frantically in the hidden laboratory carved deep beneath the frozen surface. His team had been developing a revolutionary defensive system that could manipulate gravitational fields. If it worked, it might be Earth's only hope against the Council's vastly superior firepower. As the 30-day deadline approached, tension spread throughout human space. Military vessels were recalled from distant missions. Civilian ships rushed toward Earth from outlying colonies. Emergency resources were stockpiled. Captain Warren received new orders directing the Defiant to take position near the Mars colony. As his ship accelerated toward the Red Planet, Frank couldn't shake the feeling that the Council wouldn't wait the full 30 days. "Set condition yellow throughout the ship," he ordered. "I want weapons and shields ready at a moment's notice." Unknown to the humans, Council warships were already moving into position around the edges of the solar system. The Council had never been denied, and they had no intention of starting now. Earth would comply or Earth would learn a painful lesson about defying the established order of the galaxy. The ice tunnels of Europa ran deep beneath the moon's frozen surface. Kevin Phillips rubbed his tired eyes as he studied the complex equations on his screen. Project Aegis was humanity's best-kept secret, a technology that could manipulate gravity itself. If it worked, it might give Earth a fighting chance against the Council's advanced weapons. Another all-nighter? Sophia Martinez asked, placing a steaming cup of coffee next to him. As the project's lead engineer, she had spent months turning Kevin's theories into working prototypes. "We don't have a choice," Kevin replied, taking a grateful sip. "Have you seen the latest intel? Council ships are already moving into position around the outer system." Sophia nodded grimly. The defense grid detected unusual activity near Jupiter yesterday. "I think they're watching us." Kevin immediately pulled up the security feeds. Council spy drones. They shouldn't have technology that can detect our facility this deep under the ice. "Unless we have a leak," Sophia suggested quietly. Across the room, other scientists and engineers worked frantically on different aspects of the Aegis system. The main prototype sat in the center of the lab, a metallic sphere surrounded by rings of unknown alloy that slowly rotated in opposite directions. Sophia moved to the prototype and ran a diagnostic scan. Her face fell as she studied the results. "We have a problem with the containment field. If it fails during operation, the gravitational backlash could tear Europa apart." Kevin joined her, examining the data. "How long to fix it?" 3 days, minimum," she answered. "We might not have 3 days," Kevin said, his voice barely above a whisper. Back on Earth, Admiral Harper received disturbing news in her underground command center. Surveillance satellites had detected Council warships entering the Kuiper Belt, well ahead of the deadline they had set. "They're not waiting the full 30 days, she told her staff. "Alert all defense platforms and get me a secure line to the President." President Foster was in the middle of a cabinet meeting when the call came through. Her face remained calm, but her eyes betrayed her concern. "How many ships?" she asked. "At least 50 that we can detect," Admiral Harper replied, "including 3 dreadnoughts." The cabinet room fell silent. Human ships were no match for even one Council dreadnought. "What about Project Aegis?" President Foster asked. "Not ready yet," Harper said. "Phillips reports a critical flaw they're working to fix." In space near Mars, Captain Warren received the alert about the approaching Council fleet. He ordered the Defiant to battle stations and contacted the Mars colony. "Governor Jackson, you need to begin civilian evacuation procedures immediately," Frank urged. Paul Jackson, the Mars colony governor, looked shocked. "But the deadline isn't for another 10 days. "The Council doesn't plan to honor it," Frank replied. "Get your people to the emergency shelters and prep the transport ships. The Defiant will provide cover if needed." Across the solar system, humanity prepared for war. Military vessels moved into defensive positions. Civilian ships evacuated outlying colonies. Earth itself activated its orbital defense grid, though everyone knew it wouldn't be enough against Council technology. On Proxima Station, Ambassador Diane Miller confronted the Council one last time. "Your ships are already advancing," she accused. "You never intended to give us 30 days." The Solarian Councilor's scales flashed with patterns that the translator identified as amusement. "You misunderstand. The deadline was a courtesy, not a guarantee. Lesser species must learn their place quickly." "Humanity will not surrender," Diane stated firmly. "Then humanity will serve as an example to others who might consider defiance," the Moldavi representative pulsed. As Diane left the chamber, security forces moved to block her path. She realized with sudden clarity that she would not be returning to Earth. Back on Europa, Sophia worked frantically to solve the containment field problem. Her hands flew across the controls as she tried one solution after another. "I think I've got it," she finally announced. "If we reconfigure the field harmonics and add a secondary buffer layer, we can stabilize the reaction." Kevin reviewed her work. "That might actually work. but we'll need to test it." "No time for a full test," Sophia said. "Look." She pointed to an incoming message on the main screen. Council ships had been detected on approach to Mars. The first attack was coming, days ahead of schedule. Kevin took a deep breath. "Then we go with what we have. Alert Admiral Harper. Project Aegis is as ready as it's going to be." The red dust of Mars swirled around the evacuation ships as they launched one after another. Governor Paul Jackson stood at the command center window, watching as thousands of colonists flood the planet he had helped build over the last decade. 30% evacuated, his assistant reported. "Transport Group 5 is loading now." Paul nodded grimly. "How much time until the Council fleet arrives?" "Less than 2 hours, according to Captain Warren's last update." Outside the Martian atmosphere, the EDF Defiant took position between the incoming Council ships and the colony. Frank Warren knew his vessel was outmatched, but every minute he could delay the Council forces meant more civilians saved. "Weapons hot," Frank ordered. "Shield generators at maximum." His tactical officer looked nervous but determined. "Sir, sensors detect 3 Council cruisers approaching. Their weapons output it's off the charts." Frank took a deep breath. "Send one last warning. Tell them this is sovereign human territory and any hostile action will be considered an act of war." The Council ships didn't respond. Instead, they accelerated toward Mars. "They're charging weapons," the tactical officer reported. "Evasive maneuvers," Frank ordered. "Target the lead ship and fire when ready." The Defiant fired first, its energy beams striking the lead Council vessel. The attack barely damaged the alien ship's shields. The Council responded immediately, their weapons tearing through space toward the human vessel. Frank's ship shuddered violently as the first hits connected. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Shields down to 40%. Someone shouted. "Hull breach on Deck 3. Frank held onto his command chair. "Keep firing. We need to buy the colony more time." On Mars, Paul Jackson received word of the battle raging above. "How many ships left to launch?" 7, his assistant replied. "About 40% of our people will still be here when the Council arrives." Paul closed his eyes briefly. "Tell those remaining to head for the deep shelters, and get me a direct line to Earth." Back on Earth, President Foster watched the attack on Mars with growing anger. The emergency session of the United Nations had turned into a war council. The council didn't wait for their own deadline. She told the assembled leaders, "This was never about our water. This was about subjugation." The representatives from nations across Earth nodded in grim agreement. Political differences that had divided humanity for centuries suddenly seemed meaningless in the face of external threat. "I am officially declaring a state of war against the Galactic Council," President Foster announced. "All Earth military forces are authorized to engage Council ships on site." Admiral Harper stood beside the President, her face resolute. "We've initiated Emergency Protocol Omega. All military and civilian resources are now under unified command." In space above Mars, the battle was going badly for the Defiant. The ship had taken heavy damage, but continued to fight, drawing the Council vessels away from the evacuation transports. "Hull integrity failing," the tactical officer reported. "We can't take much more of this, Captain." Frank nodded. "Plot a collision course with the lead Council ship." "Sir," his second-in-command questioned. "We can't win this fight, but we can make sure those transports get away," Frank explained. "Prepare tow." He was interrupted by a sudden alert. "Captain, multiple new contacts approaching from Jupiter's orbit." To everyone's surprise, 5 Earth ships appeared, moving faster than any human vessel should be capable of traveling. "This is Commander Roy Bennett of the Advanced Fleet," came a transmission. "Captain Warren, get your people clear. We're testing some new technology courtesy of Project Aegis." Frank ordered immediate withdrawal as the new Earth ships engaged the Council forces. The Advanced Fleet vessels moved with impossible speed, their weapons far more effective than standard Earth technology. For the first time, Council ships began to retreat. On Europa, Kevin Phillips and Sofia Martinez watched the battle through data feeds. The prototype Aegis technology they had installed on the advanced fleet was working better than expected. "It's actually working," Sofia whispered. "The gravitational weapons are penetrating their shields." Kevin nodded, but his expression remained concerned. "This is just the beginning. We've surprised them once, but the Council controls thousands of ships. They'll adapt quickly." On all communication channels across the solar system, President Foster's voice rang out. "People of Earth and our colonies, today we face an enemy that thought we would surrender without a fight. They were wrong. Humanity will not bow. Humanity will not break. And humanity will not surrender its home to those who would take it by force. Today, we stand together as one people, united against those who crossed the final line." News of the battle at Mars spread quickly through the solar system. Humanity had scored a small victory, but everyone knew the Council would return with a larger force. On Europa, Kevin Phillips and Sofia Martinez worked to improve the Aegis technology while they still had time. "The field stabilizers are holding much better now," Sofia said, studying the data from the Mars engagement. "But the power requirements are still too high for smaller ships." Kevin nodded. "We need to scale it down. Every ship in the fleet needs this protection, not just our newest vessels." Their work was interrupted by a security alert. A shuttle had arrived from the outer system, unauthorized and requesting emergency docking. "Who is it?" Kevin asked the security team. "They claim to be carrying an alien defector," came the reply. "Someone who wants to help humanity." Kevin and Sofia exchanged surprised looks. No alien had ever defected to humanity before. When the shuttle docked, armed guards surrounded it. The door opened to reveal Captain Frank Warren, his uniform still damaged from the Mars battle. Behind him stood a tall, slender alien with blue-tinted skin and 4 arms. "This is Carl," Frank explained. He was a junior diplomat on Proxima Station. He helped Ambassador Miller escape Council custody and has critical information for us. Zarl stepped forward, his large eyes blinking nervously. "Your people fight well, but you do not understand what you face. The Council has been harvesting resources from lesser species for millennia. Your water is not special. You are simply the newest target." Kevin looked skeptical. "Why help us? My homeworld was stripped of resources 300 years ago." Zarl replied, "My people now serve the Council as workers. I have watched this pattern repeat too many times." In the command center, Admiral Harper received reports that the main Council fleet was approaching Earth directly. Over 50 warships, including 5 massive dreadnoughts, would arrive within hours. "How many ships can we deploy with Aegis technology?" she asked her staff. 15 at most, came the answer. "The rest have conventional weapons only." Harper's face remained calm, but her eyes showed her concern. "It won't be enough. We need to accelerate deployment of the ground-based Aegis system." On Earth, final preparations were underway. Massive gravitational generators, based on the same technology as the ship-mounted weapons, were positioned around the planet. Each one required enormous power, straining Earth's energy grid to its limits. President Foster addressed the Emergency Council from her bunker deep beneath North America. "The evacuation of critical personnel to the Moon and Mars backup facilities is complete. Earth's defense grid is at full power. We will not abandon our homeworld." In space, Captain Warren's ship joined the defense fleet. The Defiant had been quickly repaired after the Mars battle, though it still showed damage. Council fleet detected approaching from 3 vectors, his tactical officer reported. "Time to engagement, 20 minutes. Frank opened a channel to all Earth ships. Remember what we're fighting for. Everything humanity has built. Everyone we love. Hold the line." On Europa, Kevin and Sofia made a breakthrough with Xarel's help. The alien provided knowledge of Council shield frequencies that allowed them to fine-tune the Aegis weapons. "Transmitting the updated targeting data to the fleet now," Sofia announced. "This should increase effectiveness by 30%. Kevin watched the data stream out to the waiting ships. Will it be enough? It has to be, Sophia replied simply. The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their massive ships dwarfing Earth's defenders. Their weapons powered up immediately, preparing to strike a decisive blow against the upstart species that had dared to resist. All ships, activate Aegis systems, Admiral Harper ordered from her command ship. Around Earth, the ground-based generators activated simultaneously. A shimmering field of distorted space began to form around the planet, creating the largest gravitational shield ever attempted. The Council fired first, thousands of energy weapons striking the shield at once. The gravitational field bent and warped but held firm, absorbing the massive attack. On the Council command ship, the alien leaders watched in disbelief as their weapons failed to penetrate Earth's defenses. Impossible, the Solarian counselor hissed. No developing species has ever resisted our first assault. For the first time in over 300 years, the Council fleet was forced to retreat in the face of unexpected resistance. As the massive ships withdrew to regroup, cheers erupted throughout Earth's fleet and on the planet below. Humanity had survived the first wave, but everyone knew this was just the beginning of a much longer war. The days following Earth's successful defense were busy ones. Humanity knew the Council would return with a better plan, so Admiral Harper called her top commanders to a secret meeting at the lunar base. "We've bought ourselves time, but we can't just sit behind our shield forever," she told them. "We need to take the fight to them." Commander Olivia Grant, a veteran of special operations, leaned forward. "My team has been adapting the Aegis technology for smaller vessels. We can outfit 10 stealth ships with both FTL drives and tactical nuclear weapons." Admiral Harper nodded. "Good. We need to hit their supply lines." Captain Warren studied the star maps showing Council territory. "Tarl has identified key supply depots throughout this sector. If we can disrupt their logistics, their main fleet will be forced to withdraw." While the military planned their counterattack, Kevin Phillips made an unsettling discovery on Europa. He rushed to find Sophia at their lab. "Look at this," he said, showing her sensor data. "The Council isn't just taking water from conquered worlds. They're stripping entire planets of resources, leaving them uninhabitable." Sophia studied the images of barren worlds that had once supported life. They're parasites, moving from system to system. "Exactly," Kevin agreed. "Earth isn't just fighting for independence. We're fighting to stop a cycle that's destroyed countless civilizations." In orbit around Mars, General Alan Cooper organized the remaining colonial forces into guerrilla units. With Council patrols increasing throughout the system, conventional battles would be suicide. Instead, his small, fast ships would strike quickly and then disappear. "We can't match their firepower," he told his pilots, "but we can make them fear every asteroid, every moon. They won't know where we'll hit next." Commander Grant's stealth ships prepared for their first mission. Using the new FTL drives developed from Aegis research, they could travel faster than any human vessels before. The 10 ships gathered near Jupiter, hidden from Council sensors by the gas giant's radiation belts. "Our primary target is their fuel processing station near Alpha Centauri," Olivia explained to her strike team. "We go in fast, deploy the nukes, and get out before they know what hit them." The stealth fleet jumped to FTL, vanishing from the solar system. It was humanity's first offensive operation beyond their home system. Meanwhile, the Council leaders met on their command dreadnought to plan their response to Earth's unexpected resistance. "The humans have developed gravity manipulation technology ahead of schedule," the Moldavi representative pulsed angrily. "This cannot be tolerated." The Solarian counselor's scales shifted to show agreement. "They must be taught the price of defiance. Prepare the planet killer for deployment against their moon colony." On Earth, President Foster received disturbing news from their intelligence network. "The Council is bringing in their heaviest weapons," she told Admiral Harper via secure channel. "They plan to destroy our lunar colony as a show of force. We need to evacuate the moon immediately." Harper replied. "The planetary shield can't extend that far." The evacuation order went out, but time was short. Transport ships rushed to the lunar surface, loading as many colonists as possible. The massive dome habitats that had been humanity's first permanent settlement beyond Earth now faced destruction. Captain Warren volunteered the Defiant to help with the evacuation. His ship had just completed repairs when the alarm sounded. Council Dreadnought detected approaching lunar orbit, his tactical officer reported. Weapon's signature indicates a Planet Killer class weapon. Frank opened all channels. All ships, forget the orderly loading. Get everyone you can and launch immediately. From the command center on the lunar surface, the base commander watched as ships lifted off. "We still have over 50,000 people here," he reported grimly. In deep space, Commander Grant's stealth fleet successfully struck the Council fuel depot. Nuclear explosions tore through the massive station, destroying it completely. "Target neutralized," Olivia reported. "No casualties on our side." Her moment of triumph was short-lived as an emergency message came through. "The Council is attacking the moon. All ships return immediately." The stealth fleet jumped back toward Earth, but they were too far away. From the bridge of the Defiant, Frank watched in horror as the Council Dreadnought fired its main weapon at the moon. A blinding beam struck the lunar surface, vaporizing habitats and turning the regolith to glass. The attack lasted less than a minute. When it was over, the lunar colony was gone, along with 50,000 civilians. On Earth, in military bases, and on ships throughout the system, humanity watched the destruction in shocked silence. Then that silence hardened into cold determination. The Council had crossed yet another line, and now there would be no holding back. The destruction of the lunar colony changed everything. Across Earth and its remaining colonies, the mood shifted from defensive resistance to righteous anger. Military recruitment centers were overwhelmed with volunteers. Scientists worked around the clock to improve weapons and defenses. Captain Frank Warren stood in his quarters aboard the Defiant, staring at the list of names. The dead from the lunar colony. So many lives lost in an instant. A message alert pulled him from his thoughts. Xaril requested an urgent meeting. "There are others who hate the Council as much as humans now do," the aliens said when they met in the secure conference room. "Species who have suffered for centuries under their rule." Frank looked up with interest. "How many?" "At least 12 that I know personally," Xaril replied. "All have been victims of the Council's resource harvesting. All have lost homeworlds or colonies. They have technologies and knowledge that could help humanity." "Can you contact them?" Frank asked. Xaril's 4 arms moved in a gesture of affirmation. "I already have. They are willing to meet with a human representative. But it must be secret, if the Council discovers this alliance forming." Frank nodded. "I understand. I'll take the Defiant. Where do we meet them?" "An abandoned mining station in the Tav Ceti system," Xaril said. "It's neutral territory, away from Council patrols." Admiral Harper was skeptical when Frank proposed the mission. "It could be a trap," she warned. "It's a risk we have to take," Frank argued. "We've proven we can defend Earth temporarily, but we can't win this war alone." After consideration, Harper approved the mission. The Defiant, equipped with the latest Aegis technology, departed Earth with a small crew of volunteers. Xaril guided them through less traveled routes to avoid Council patrols. After 3 days of tense travel, they reached the abandoned mining station. It floated silently in space, a massive structure of metal and rock carved from an asteroid. No signs of other ships, Frank's tactical officer reported. "They're here," Xaril assured him. "But hidden, like us." Frank broadcast on a frequency Xaril provided. "This is Captain Frank Warren of Earth. We come seeking alliance against our common enemy." One by one, ships emerged from hiding places around the station. 12 vessels of different designs, representing 12 different species. None matched the advanced technology of the Council, but together they made an impressive sight. Inside the station's main chamber, representatives gathered. Each species was unique. Some had multiple limbs, others moved on tentacles, some floated in special suits. Despite their differences, all shared the same determination in their eyes or equivalent sensory organs. Frank addressed the gathering. Earth is new to interstellar society, but we've already experienced the Council's cruelty. They demanded our resources, attacked without provocation, and murdered our civilians. We fight not just for our survival, but to end their reign of terror. A tall, insectoid being stepped forward. I am Krizva of the Tellurians. The Council stripped our world 300 years ago. We have developed bioweapons they cannot counter. Another representative, a small creature with crystalline skin, spoke next. The Vex offer our quantum communication technology. It cannot be intercepted by Council methods. One by one, each species offered unique capabilities. Frank shared information about the Aegis system, explaining how gravity manipulation had allowed humans to defend Earth. Together, we can resist what none of us could face alone. Frank concluded, we form the Liberation Alliance today. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent alert. Council interceptors detected approaching the station. Frank's officer reported through the comm. At least 5 ships, heavily armed. The representatives hurried to return to their vessels. Frank coordinated with the new allies. We'll cover your escape. The Alliance must survive, even if we don't. What followed was a chaotic battle. The Defiant positioned itself between the Council ships and the fleeing Alliance vessels. Frank ordered all power to weapons and shields. Sir, we can't survive against 5 interceptors, his second-in-command warned. We don't need to survive. Frank replied calmly. We just need to buy enough time. The Defiant took heavy damage as it engaged the Council ships. Systems failed across the vessel as enemy weapons tore through its hull. But Frank's tactics worked. One by one, the Alliance ships escaped to safety. As the bridge filled with smoke and warning alarms blared, Frank sent one final message to Earth. The Alliance is formed. Tell them Captain Warren sent you. Then he ordered his remaining crew to the escape pods. The Defiant would not survive, but its sacrifice ensured that for the first time in centuries, the Council faced something they had never expected, a united opposition. News of Warren's heroism spread quickly through human space and to their new allies. His name became a rallying cry for resistance. The war was entering a new phase. 2 months after the formation of the Liberation Alliance, the war had spread across the galaxy. What began as a conflict over Earth's water had evolved into a full-scale rebellion against Council rule. Dozens of previously subjugated species had joined the Alliance, each bringing unique technologies and knowledge to the fight. Admiral Harper stood before the holographic display in Earth's command center, studying the positions of Alliance and Council forces. The Tellurian bioweapons have disabled Council life support systems on 3 of their major bases, she reported to President Foster. And the Vex quantum communications have allowed us to coordinate attacks across 20 star systems simultaneously. And Project Aegis? The President asked. That's our biggest breakthrough, Harper replied with the first smile anyone had seen from her in weeks. Kevin Phillips and Sofia Martinez have developed an offensive version of the technology. In the Europa Research Facility, Kevin and Sofia demonstrated their latest creation to Alliance scientists. The device looked similar to the defensive Aegis system, but with several key differences. The defensive version creates a gravitational shield, Kevin explained. This offensive version can create targeted gravitational singularities. Sofia activated a small-scale demonstration. A test object in the chamber was suddenly crushed by invisible forces, then disappeared completely. In simple terms, we can create controlled black holes, she said. Small enough to target specific ships or installations, but powerful enough to destroy them completely. An alien scientist with tentacles that constantly shifted colors asked, "Can the Council defend against this?" "Not yet," Kevin replied. "Their shields are designed to stop energy and physical projectiles. They have no defense against localized space-time distortion. Across the galaxy, Coordinated Alliance attacks struck Council installations. Commander Olivia Grant led a fleet of human and alien ships against a major Council shipyard. All ships target the construction platforms, she ordered. Tellurian vessels deploy bioweapons against their crew quarters. The battle was fierce but one-sided. Council forces, used to facing inferior opponents, found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned by the combined Alliance technologies. As Alliance forces pushed deeper into Council territory, they discovered more worlds that had been stripped of resources and abandoned. On one such planet, General Alan Cooper's ground forces found survivors living in underground shelters. The Council took everything. An elder told them through a translator. Our water, our minerals, even our atmosphere. Those who resisted were killed. Those who submitted became workers. The stories were the same across dozens of worlds. The Council had maintained its power for millennia through ruthless exploitation of less advanced species. Back on Earth, President Foster addressed the Alliance representatives who had gathered in the rebuilt United Nations chamber. We fight not just for our own survival, but for justice, she declared. Every world the Council has stripped, every species they have subjugated, will be freed and helped to rebuild. The Council, facing defeat for the first time in its long history, grew desperate. In a secure facility on their central command world, they activated weapons that had not been used for thousands of years. The entropy cascades are ready, a Council technician reported. Once activated, they will create subspace ruptures that will spread throughout this galactic arm. The Xilarian Councilor's scales flashed with grim determination. If we cannot rule this section of the galaxy, then no one will. Activate the Doomsday Protocols. Alliance intelligence detected the energy buildups. Kevin and Sophia analyzed the data and reached a terrifying conclusion. They're going to destabilize this entire section of the galaxy, Kevin reported to Admiral Harper. The subspace ruptures will make thousands of star systems uninhabitable. Harper's face hardened. Then we have no choice. We must strike their central command world directly. That would require our entire fleet, Sophia pointed out. It would leave Earth defenseless. Earth has been the target from the beginning, Harper replied. But this isn't about Earth anymore. This is about every world and every species the Council has ever threatened. Preparations began immediately for the largest military operation in human history. Every available ship was called to join the assault. The offensive Aegis devices were installed on the flagship vessels. As the fleet prepared to depart, Admiral Harper addressed the combined forces. Captain Warren gave his life so this alliance could form. Now we honor his sacrifice by ending the Council's reign once and for all. The combined Alliance fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel near the Council's central command world. Over 3,000 ships from dozens of species formed the largest armada ever assembled in the galaxy. Admiral Harper stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Earth vessel New Horizon, as sensor data streamed in. Council defenses are active, her tactical officer reported. They have over 500 ships in defensive positions and planetary shield generators at full power. Harper nodded, her face resolute. Begin Phase 1. All ships with Aegis offensive systems move to your assigned positions. Kevin Phillips and Sophia Martinez were aboard the New Horizon, monitoring the Aegis systems. Their months of work had led to this moment. All gravitational weapons are powered and stable, Sophia reported. Field harmonics at optimal levels. Kevin looked at the image of the Council homeworld on the main screen. After so many centuries of oppression, it all comes down to this day. The Alliance fleet split into attack groups, each targeting specific defense platforms and Council vessels. The battle erupted with blinding energy beams and gravitational distortions tearing through space. The offensive Aegis systems proved devastatingly effective. Council ships caught in the gravitational singularities were crushed and pulled apart. Defense platforms collapsed in on themselves. For the first time in memory, Council forces were outmatched. President Foster watched the battle from Earth through quantum communications. Beside her stood representatives from dozens of Alliance species. The entropy cascade generators are still powering up on the surface, she noted with concern. We must disable them before they activate. In the middle of the battle, something unexpected happened. A small diplomatic vessel emerged from the Council planet, broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Ambassador Diane Miller of Earth," came the transmission. "I am with Council faction members who oppose the Doomsday weapons. We need immediate extraction and have critical information about the cascade generators." Everyone thought Miller had died during the initial conflict. Her sudden reappearance shocked the Alliance command. It could be a trap, Harper's second-in-command warned. Harper studied the transmission data. Authenticate her identity. If it's really Miller, send a strike team to extract her immediately. A small stealth craft broke from the Alliance fleet, darting through the battle toward the planet's surface. Commander Olivia Grant led the extraction team personally. "Ambassador Miller, we're approaching your position," she radioed. "Be ready for immediate departure." Olivia's team landed near Miller's location and fought through Council security forces. They found the ambassador with 3 alien Council members who had turned against their leaders. "The main cascade generator is in the central citadel," Miller explained as they raced back to the ship. "The Council leaders are there now, preparing to activate it manually." With Miller and the defectors safely aboard, Harper ordered the final phase of the attack. "All ships with offensive Aegis systems target the central citadel. Use precision targeting to avoid civilian areas." Kevin and Sophia personally calibrated the flagship's gravitational weapon. "We need to create a containment field, not destruction," Kevin explained. "If we simply destroy the generator, the energy release could trigger the very cascade we're trying to prevent." As Alliance forces pushed through the planet's defenses, Harper opened a channel to the Council leadership. "This is Admiral Lisa Harper of the Liberation Alliance. Surrender now and deactivate your Doomsday weapons. This is your only warning." The Solarian Councilor's response was immediate and defiant. "We ruled this galaxy before your species learned to make fire. We will not surrender to lesser beings." "Then you leave us no choice," Harper replied. The offensive Aegis devices activated simultaneously, creating a precise gravitational containment field around the central citadel. The massive structure was enclosed in a shimmering bubble of distorted spacetime, isolated from the rest of the planet. Inside the field, the Council leaders watched in horror as their superweapon was cut off from its power source. The entropy cascade, designed to destroy thousands of worlds, fizzled and died. With their leadership contained and their superweapon neutralized, the remaining Council forces began to surrender. The battle that many expected to last for days was over in hours. On the surface of the Council world, Allied forces discovered records dating back thousands of years, detailing every species the Council had exploited, every world they had stripped of resources. 1 month later, representatives from over 100 species gathered on Earth to sign a new galactic charter. The document established principles of mutual respect, fair resource sharing, and collective defense. At the ceremony, a memorial was unveiled honoring those who had died in the conflict, including Captain Frank Warren. His final message had become the motto of the new alliance: "Together we stand where alone we would fall." President Foster addressed the gathering. The Council crossed the final line, and the galaxy did indeed pay a price. But from that price has come a new beginning, not of exploitation, but of cooperation, not of subjugation, but of freedom. As humans and aliens together looked to the stars, they knew the future would hold new challenges, but they would face them as equals, bound by shared sacrifice and common purpose.